Hi, welcome back to day 3 of Marist Chess Camp. So far we've learned about what each piece does, and yesterday we learned about what a main opening for chess is, and today we're going to learn about a Sicilian defense. Is what basically is if you are the black pieces and you are going second, this is what happens if white opens up in the way that we talked about yesterday. Here's how a way you can defend yourself, and the Sicilian defense is the best reply that black can give to that. It's one of the highest black win ratios that we have, and it's played from beginner to grandmaster games. There's obviously different variations of it, but this is the variation that we normally use, especially when we're starting out. So obviously moving second is a disadvantage because you have to follow up with what somebody else is doing and you have to adapt to them. Every time a move is made on the chessboard, the odds change for winning and losing in that game, sometimes up to 10 million times. So there are different variations of how that board can turn out and your variations about how you can win the match. So as we talked about yesterday, when the white king pawn moves to e4, it's one of the most common moves for white to move. So this defense actually tries to throw them off guard so they can't just go through and then stack their pawn against you and then move their castle out and so forth like that. It's not going to allow them to do that. It's going to make them have to change their game, because the most important part of chess is to make sure that you get to implement your game as much as possible and throw the other person off so they can implement theirs. That's how you're going to win. So it's very popular and more statistically prevalent when the pawn does go to e4. So it's a great opening even for beginners. So what you want to do is, obviously you have set the board up the way that it should be to start a game. The white piece will move their king to e4, and then what you're going to do is you're going to move your pawn to either c7 or c5. And again, that goes by whether or not you want to move it out one spot or two spots. The simple move of the pawn is the c5, is the basis for the defense, and then there are many different variations afterwards. So what you do by doing that is your pawn is not stacked up against the white pawn. So as I said, if your pawns are together vertically, they can't move unless, of course, you're going to take a piece that's next to it. So those pawns are almost irrelevant at that point because they can't go anywhere for either side. If you're moving your pawn out to a different lane, though, or a different column, you are able to move that pawn. So the Sicilian defense allows you to open up the board a little bit more. As I said, it is advantageous for you to take the center of the board, and if you're moving a pawn that's on c7 or c5, you're not going to have to worry too much about forfeiting the middle of the board because you're on the edge of the middle, but you're still in the middle of the board. So it's important that you do that. So what the Sicilian defense does is it basically asks you not to just move the same piece the white one does to just cancel that piece out. It allows you to move a piece so that you actually can start taking control of the board on your own side. After that, it's up to you really what you want to do. Sometimes the defense calls for you to take your bishop and to get your bishop moving then. Sometimes it calls for you to take your horse and you can move your knight out and you can take that piece out just as we did before, but it's up to you how you want to do that. So basically the Sicilian defense asks you not to just counter white with the same moves they're making. Obviously with the Sicilian defense eventually you do want to castle, so it's going to be important that you do move that knight and move that bishop at some point so that you can castle when you have black pieces as well too, because again you want to have that protection around your king. So this is just a different way to start the match out, especially if you don't start out first. But you want to make sure that when you do start, and if you are going second, whether you be white or black going second, you want to make sure that you implement your game the way that you want as best you can to get control of that center of the board before your opponent does, because you want to make sure that the aspects of your game show through in order to make sure that you're able to win the match. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and we will see you soon.